And welcome back live here at Carrabba's Italian Grill. It's Gomez from Gomez & Company on TK99 and TK105 along with head coach Jim Boeheim. And welcome, and you can go into the stream chat right now at keysportstalk.com. An exclusive bonus chat with the coach. If you'd like to join in the conversation, say hi, and we'll talk about the win last night against Virginia Tech and the game coming up on Saturday, and then other topics as well. And right out of the box, Coach, the Chief, who joins us from Oswego most every week, says, Coach, do you like the Bills' chances this week and throughout the playoffs?
I like them. I'm a big fan of theirs, and my son Jimmy's a huge fan of theirs. He loves the Bills. He stays up. It's 7 hours difference. He watches the Bills games over there at 4 a.m. sometimes if they're on at night. He'll stay up and watch it. Yeah, he loves them. Yeah, loves the Bills. It's a great thing about when you're overseas now, you can watch every television program that you can watch here. Football, whatever, any show, all that. So you can, it's relieves some of the boredom when you're over there. Only playing one game a week is tough. But yeah, I like the Bills. Pro football, when it comes down to the playoffs, it's going to be close. If it's them in Kansas City, anybody can win that game. But I like the Bills, and I like how they played this year. And this could be their year to win it.
So what does Jimmy do all week? If he can't watch football, if there's no game on and he's got a week,
he watches all the basketball, and he gets our games. He gets Buddy's games. He gets those games over there. You can get everything that you can get here. And, and Netflix, things like that. He's watching that stuff too. But they practice in the afternoon, late afternoon, and then, he watches TV, and then they play one game. He needs to get into a little higher league where they play 2 games a week. That'd be better for him. But he's having a pretty good year. He likes it. It's a great country, and it's been a great experience for him.
This one here, see, what's your favorite track from Darkness on the Edge of Town? The Bruce Springsteen album.
Oh, Bruce! I just like him. But I've always liked, my favorite song is "Dancing in the Dark." Always has been. It's
just fun.
Yeah, I listen to that song a lot when I'm driving. I don't listen to music that much. I'm just not into music that much. I never have been. And but I listen to that song quite a bit.
We're watching as we're doing the QSportsTalk.com. It's 68-67 Minnesota up over Ohio State with, what's that, 0.9 left in the game?
I can't even tell.
That's what it's looking like. We'll get a final here in a moment, but back to some of the questions here in the stream chat of QSportsTalk.com. This question here, seeing Benny in person, it looks like he grew from last year. Any chance he could be in the rotation as a center?
No, he's definitely not a center. He's not really a power forward right now.
Let's work on that first.
Yeah, he's 205 pounds. He's a forward. That's what his position is.
From Matt, who's watching here on camera, I don't know if you could even narrow this one down. Do you have a favorite assistant coach of all time?
No.
Can't be doing that.
I'm lucky. I've had a lot of good assistant coaches. That's the bottom line. A lot. That's how you win. That's how you're successful. Have really good coaches working with you. That's a big key, really.
Non-basketball question, Coach, but baseball. I know you're a big baseball fan, but we just saw this actually when we were hanging out before the show started. AAA ballparks this year are going to use an electronic strike zone.
Oh, okay.
The ABS, the automatic balls and strikes system in minor league, and they're going to test that. Does that mean it's headed to the majors?
I would think so. I don't know enough about it, but obviously tennis, it works to perfection. In fact, they should look more often at it, because why not? Get it right. I don't know if it works as well in baseball, but I would think it's a better way to go. I think it would really alleviate players and managers complain, well, this guy strike zones this guy's that. It'd be the same. So they might think it's missing a little, but
yeah, who do you argue with? That's kind of the fun of it.
There's no arguments. If it, I I'm not sure why they have to test it. It either works or it doesn't. I mean, it's either right or
It's
not.
going to go or it's not going to go.
And if it's right, then they shouldn't mess around with it.
Questions from the coach, you can just put them into the stream chat here at QSportsTalk.com. Last night, the game coach, it was good seeing Art Jones in the stands watching and holding up the Super Bowl ring. And, seems to me, I've seen a couple over the years from former SU players who have won Super Bowls or World Series rings or hockey, NHL. Every year they get bigger and bigger and bigger.
They're big.
The first one I ever saw was like a class ring.
Yeah. Well, ours aren't big, the ones we got, and the Olympic rings I've gotten, but they're big enough. I would never wear them. they're too big to even wear. And there's some of their rings are probably twice as big as the rings we have.
Have you ever just worn it to an event or anything? I
don't think I've ever worn a ring. I think the national gym. I think I wore it someplace. I forgot where. I actually really don't remember where I wore it. I've never worn the rings, but I think I wore our national championship ring someplace.
We had in the studio a couple years ago Helio Castronovos because he was in town promoting an event at Watkins Glen. He was wearing one of his Indianapolis 500 rings. See, that's I think 4 of them or whatever.
Yeah, I think he did have 4.
He's the only guy that I've met over the years in those situations that wouldn't let me try it on. Most every guy, like David Tyree, was like, "Yeah, sure, go ahead, whatever."
Wouldn't let you.
He wouldn't even. No, he wouldn't even take it off.
He must not have trusted you.
Yeah.
He must have had that look. This guy's going to take my ring.
This one, Sandy Gold Q says, "Are you happy with the way the players are currently communicating with each other on the floor?"
Yeah, I mean, I think they're getting better. It's a young team, and it's a process. We said in the beginning of the year, this is not going to be easy. This is not going to be an easy go. We have young players playing against veteran players, and that's not easy. They're learning, and I think they're all getting better.
This question here, what's the best nickname in the history of sports, in your opinion, Coach? Syracuse and non-Syracuse.
I've never thought about that. I like baseball names like Willie Mays, Hank Aaron, Teddy Williams, Ted Williams, Hank Aaron. They're like iconic. Babe Ruth. These names are, Mickey Mantle. These are names that, Joe DiMaggio. I mean, it just. Football, not so much. I don't see it that much in football or basketball. Baseball, those names just ring out to you like this is a
they stand apart.
Special names, and there's been even guys that are not great players that Duke Snyder. Well, he was a great player. Duke Snyder. I mean, it's amazing to me. Baseball players' names just stand out to me. I don't know.
I think my favorite college basketball name, I can remember Baskerville Holmes.
Yeah,
I think it's a great name. Was it Memphis or?
I think Memphis. I think he was at Memphis. Yeah, there's been some. There's obviously good basketball names, but there was a great announcer in New York City in the Garden. His name was John Condon, and he was there. I don't know, 30 years. And his voice resonated, and when he was the one that when Sherman Douglas was with us, and Sherman made some great play. John Condon went. That was the general. Sherman Douglas.
Ah, he's the one that gave him that?
Yeah, he gave him the name. That was the general. It was chilling almost when he said it,
About the Never Nervous Purvis Ellison.
Yeah, it was a good name. I love baseball names. I mean, football names and
baseball.
Basketball, I don't think of that much, but I love. There's 20 more great baseball names. Barry Bonds is a great name. I mean, Wally Moon
just means baseball. You know what it is.
Wally Moon. I mean, Ernie Banks. I mean, they're just iconic names. It's like maybe I might be over exaggerating. I don't know, but it's just to me, I love baseball names.
Basketball question for you, Coach. Is there anything in particular that you think is hindering Benny from what he does in practice as opposed to game time?
I mean, it's not like he's great in practice. He's just better than he's been in the games. I don't know. I think he worries a little bit. I think he lets that affect his play sometimes. I think he depends too much on making a jump shot, and he's not a great shooter, so he's not always going to make jump shots where he could always rebound. And he never did that. In high school, he was out on the perimeter. He was smaller in high school, and then he grew, but he was always on the perimeter. He never really was inside that much. And he's getting better there, but he's just not used to being there. And, we need him to be there in terms of rebound defense. And he can do it. And it's not that he can't do it. He can do it. And eventually he could be a complete player because he can play in there and he can shoot. So that's what we're kind of hoping develops.
Another question here. Have you ever met Jerry Welsh? Which I'm sure you must have.
Jerry Welsh, I've known since I was an assistant coach here. He was a 3-time national champion winner at Potsdam, I think.
Yeah.
2 or 3 anyway. And great coach. And Timmy Welch's father. Timmy worked for me. And then he coached Iona and Providence. And now he does TV. Jerry was a great coach. Absolutely great coach.
I actually golfed a long time ago locally at Bellevue in some event, and he was in the foursome with Jerry and Tim. It was just a good guy.
Yeah, they're good guys.
Good family.
Yeah, good guys, good family.
Question here. What's a better November tournament location, Hawaii or Atlantis? This person says they figured Alaska probably wasn't your favorite.
No, Alaska's not good. But Atlantis is good because you can walk into the arena and walk back. That's always good. And Hawaii's Hawaii. Maui's a great place. Beaches are great. Good venue. They're the 2 hands down best tournaments to play in.
For next year's, I know they schedule these things pretty far out. Have there been any announcements for next year?
We're in Maui next year.
Oh, okay.
Well, we're in Maui next year.
Let me see here. If you were stranded on an island for 1 week with a straw hut for shelter and the outfit you are currently wearing, what other 3 things would you bring?
What?
Well,
food and water.
Food, water, and a Bruce Springsteen album, I guess. I don't know.
No, because then you have to have a player, too. You'd have to food and water would be key, I think, if you were stranded on an island. I'm not very handy at making things either, so I don't know. I'd be in trouble. I'd be in real trouble.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't last. Ryan wants to know, Coach, with certain live players being allowed to play in the Masters, do you think TV will make it out to be a live versus PGA tour?
I don't know. I don't think they will. I think they'll just let it go. I mean, they were in some events this year, and they really didn't highlight it that much. They were in the British Open and some other events. I don't think the live players will play as well in these events because their competition was more friendly, and they didn't play as many tournaments last year, so you don't get that competitive edge. The live players did not do that well in the tournaments that they played in. That doesn't mean they can't. I don't think you can have majors without the live players. You got to figure out how to do it because you're playing a major without Dustin Johnson and Cameron Smith. It's just they're 2 of the top 10 players in the world. You can't have a real legitimate Open champion if they're not playing in it. So you got to figure out how to do it. And they're at war, so they don't want to figure it out. And the majors need to take charge and say, well, we're going to get these guys in here. We don't care what their points are. We need to figure out how to get these guys in the tournament.
Big names.
You can't have a Open or championship or a Masters champion without having the best players there. That just doesn't make any sense. And I think they're smart enough to figure this out. I hope, but I think those guys, they lose a little competitive edge. The tour it's tough out there. You got to compete. The live event, the good players are going to be in the top 5, 7, 8, make 800,000 in a bad tournament. So it's a little less competitive and honing your game, I think. But we'll see how they do. I'm interested because it'll make it fun. See how they do. See how those guys. You can't blame them for taking $60 million or $100 million, especially the older guys. They weren't going to make any money anymore. And the younger guys probably got $100 million. That's a lot of money.
Hard to turn that down for anything, right? How do you?
Not many people would.
Yeah.
And the guys like Rory and Tiger and those guys, they already got $100 million, so they don't need the money. Not
an option.
They don't need the money.
Question here: thoughts on Nick Monroe taking the job?
Coaches move. That's what happens. They do move and see different opportunity. He's from Minnesota. I mean, those things happen. It's just part of life in college football. Coaches leave and coaches come. And I think losing the coordinator, they got the guy that was with the coordinator offensively for years. So I think he knows the offensive system. I don't think they'll miss a lot there. And he was the quarterback coach who worked with the quarterback who's coming back. And the defensive guy, it was his system that they brought in. So they should be fine there. It's just, you're losing some guys in the portal, but they lost 4 or 5 good players, but they got 4 or 5 good players in the portal, and they've kept a couple that were in there. So I think they've skated through the portal at this point in time pretty good.
Navigated it well. Another question: what do you think about this year's lacrosse team coach? It seems like they brought
I think they'll be better. I think they'll be better. They're not rated. It's the first time they haven't been rated in years, and I just think they'll be a little bit better than people think they are. It's going to take Gary. You got to give a coach 2-3 years at least just to get it built up and get it to where you want to get it to. And they've got 2 great coaches, and I think they'll be fine.
This one here, and they say you don't have to say any names, obviously, but are there any refs in college basketball that you don't like playing games with them officiating?
No, I don't talk about that. I mean, you got to just play.
It is what it is. They're the refs that day, and you play your game. They'll do their job, and you do yours.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to get some bad calls. You're going to get some good calls. That's just the way it is. And it's just, you don't want them to make that one call at the end of the game that decides it. That's if it's a bad call. But it's human. It's a hard game to referee, and there's going to be bad calls. They know it. We know it. And you just have to live with it and try to coach the game, coach your team.
Now, going back, there was a question earlier that kind of went by in the stream chat there, but when we were talking about the automatic balls and strike system that they use for baseball, and it works for tennis, and it probably will work for baseball. Is there any part of the technology in basketball that would?
No. Zero. If you had machines watching, there could be a foul called every play. There could be 5 fouls called on one play. You just have to judgment and get the really damaging call right. That's the key. It's a physical game, and it's hard. In football, they hold 80% of the time, and they get caught 2% of the time. It's just the way it is. It's something you gotta figure out. You need referees and umpires. That's the bottom line. They're key to, and you just hope they're consistent and hope that they're fair. That's all that balances out. Sometimes it doesn't balance out. Sometimes you're going to get a few more bad calls than others, and sometimes coaches there's 350 teams that all 350 coaches think they got the bad calls. Well, it's impossible.
Yeah.
There's 175 and 175, so It's either even or one coach or the other got the advantage. They all 350 didn't get through.
Question here, Coach. This person says they were at Manly when Winfred Walton was briefly on campus.
Very brief.
If he'd have been able to play here, how good
he was
do you think
good.
he could have been?
He was an All-American type player, 6'9", power forward, could shoot.
What year was it about?
Oh, don't even ask. It was a long time ago.
I remember the name, and I remember him briefly here, but that's all.
That was a long time. I can't even think of it. He ended up going to not Long Beach. He went to Fresno with Tark, and the first year Tark called me. He said, "What's wrong with this guy?" I said, "What are you talking about?" Well, he doesn't come out of his room. He was in his room 22 hours a day, came out to eat, and then he went back in his room. He was a really good player, but he just
couldn't get it going.
Didn't want to work at the game, but he was, 6'9", 230 pounds. He was the MVP of the McDonald's game in Detroit. Probably had 26 points and 10, 12 rebounds. He was good. He was All-American good. That's how good he was.
Question here from Gnome Hunter. Do you think there'll be any major changes to ACC membership?
You never know. I don't think so. I think we're set. I don't think the guys that want to leave, if they do want to really leave, can leave because it's $150 million or something to get out. So I think we're going to stay together for a while. And if you're Florida State, why do you want to go play in the SEC when you can win? In Clemson, why would you want to go play against Alabama and Georgia and all those guys when you can win the ACC? It just makes no sense. I just wish we could have made Notre Dame come into our league or league, one or the other. And they would give us another good football school that would help our league overall, I think. But that's not happening for a while.
A question here from Cuse Dude. Do you think a coach owes it to players to tell them personally when they're leaving to take a new job?
Well,
or is it just depend on the situation?
Yeah, it's tough. You would like to do that. There's probably some circumstances that make it very hard, but I still think you have to do that. Players. Look, the way it is in today's world, players can leave, and coaches can leave. That's the way it is. I tell all of our players, even now, and I always have. I said, I'm not planning on leaving, but you never know. You gotta like the school and all that. And I think I'll be here, and I've been telling players that for 40-something plus years. And, I coached all those guys. I told these guys coming this year, I'll coach you, but, a year or 2 or 3, I don't know, and they all knew that. And, of course, they could come in and tell me they're leaving this year, too. That's just the way it is today. When you don't have to sit out, it's just pretty easy to leave. That's the way it is. 1,800 kids left last year out of 350 schooles. So, that's a lot of kids.
It's a lot of kids.
That's five a school, something like that. I didn't think it'd be that much. That seems like a lot.
It does. I read today because it was an article about the portal, and it said when it gets going, this is like early in the transfer portal season, it'll be 100 players a day around the country will be entering.
It's hard to believe, but I had read that it was 1,800. That seems like a lot because there's 350 schools that play Division I. So that's really 5 players per school. It doesn't seem like it's that much. That's surprising. I would have thought it was 2-3 players, but that's only 900. That's only 1,000. I know it was 1,500 to 1,800. So, and 200 didn't get a scholarship. They had either go down to Division II. Some went back, but most, when a kid leaves, I try to replace them because if I wait, I won't be able to get a replacement. So it's hard sometimes. John Bowl came back and he's graduated now. He's done really well in school. So, it's difficult. The whole portal thing is just crazy.
Ryan did the math here. It's 5.14 players per school.
Yeah, it doesn't seem that. I don't even see where that's possible because, like last year, we had. I don't keep track, obviously, but who do we have transfer this year? Everybody Nobody transferred. Graduate, left, graduate.
Yep.
So, I don't know. We didn't have any.
Yeah.
So that means somebody had to
Had
balance
10.
that out. I'm shocked that it's that many. I had heard 1,600, which would still be 4.
Yeah, and
Four.
the one number I saw in the article I was reading today said 1,832 specifically.
Yeah, I know.
So.
I find it, I mean, it's got to be true, but you find it almost, I wonder if they're counting Division 2 and 3. I don't know. They could be counting Division 2 and 3 schools because
that's true.
A lot of Division 2 guys try to come up. So they could be. And I know I'd heard at one time 200 or 300 didn't get scholarships, and I also heard that like 600 or 700 of the guys did worse when they transferred than what they did.
Let's see, 2 quick things. Paulie, who's running things here, had gone on that Alaska trip years ago to the Great Alaska Shootout, and Paulie said that they were serving Hot Pockets, and you had to microwave them yourself. That was the meals.
I don't think it was that bad. We did have the earthquake one day. That was a little shaky.
Oh, really? While you were there?
Yeah, we were up on the 25th floor, too. It was a little scary. But, yeah, I mean, we played pretty well up there, so it's okay.
Let's see. Last but not least here, Coach, on the stream chat. Eventually, obviously, down the road, how would you like to be remembered by the Syracuse community?
I did the best I could, and I gave back to the community. That's all. There's nothing else.
It's not do your best.
How many Final Fours you won, how many games you won. None of that matters. Who cares? We had a pretty good program. I mean, the most fierce critic probably might not even admit that, but they might. We had a pretty good program, and we had really good players that were good for the community and nice kids, and that we gave back through our foundation. We try to give back to the community. That's all that matters. I mean, it's not whether you won 1,000 or 1,100 or any of that stuff. None of that matters, really. It just matters that, you did the best job you could, and we had a pretty good team, and we gave back.
Leaving it better than you found it.
Give back to the community. That's what people need to do, and we've tried to do that, and that's it. It's not some, well, he won this game, but he lost to this team, or he won, when you start getting into that, that's totally nonsense. And somebody will do that.
Oh, I'm sure.
We'll look into, all this stuff, but none of that's relevant.
Coach, thanks. As always, QSportsTalk.com. Thanks to everybody who joined us here on video and for the questions in the stream chat. Tomorrow, In the Paint with the Coach on TK99 and TK105 at 7:40. And then go Orange on a Saturday night against Notre Dame in the Dome. Catch that action on the flagship station for SU basketball, TK99 and TK105. See you back here at Carrabba's next week on the home for SU basketball.